We are live. What's up, everybody? This is Whiskey in the Six. I'm Rob, here with my friends from out west. You guys have heard about this place countless times on this channel. Obviously, I have waxed poetic enough times about Shelter Point and how much I love them and all those things. Gentlemen, why don't you introduce yourself? Say hello to our friends.
Perfect. Thank you, Rob, for the wonderful introduction. My name is Jacob Wiebe. I'm the operations manager here at Shelter Point Distillery. I've been here for around 11, 12 years now, so right from kind of day one. And I've just been lucky enough to be a part of this, phenomenal operations since day one.
I'm Chris Reed. I'm the brand experience manager here at Shelter Point. I'm at the other end of the experience scale from Jacob. I've been here just over 6 months now, but equally excited to be a part of this fantastic place. I was to have the opportunity to join, especially at a point when it really feels like it's hitting its stride in terms of producing some fantastic whiskeys. So very excited to be a part of it.
Yeah, Chris came in at kind of the perfect time, I think.
Yeah, so. Jacob done all the hard work, and I'm just going to basically enjoy the rewards.
Reap all the benefits. I've been watching you guys for a while, and I've loved what you've done from the beginning of when I was introduced to you guys. And honestly, it's awesome to see that you're getting world recognition now. Maybe we could speak to that a little bit with the first whiskey that we're going to be trying tonight, which is the Single Malt. This is the standard Single Malt, 46%. No filtration, no added color, all the fun stuff, all the stuff that the people in the chat will definitely respect, because that's why we're all here. We're all a little bit whiskey geeky, and that's kind of what we're looking for. So tell us what happened with this, because I don't know if everybody knows.
Yeah, so the Single Malt just won this year a double gold at the San Francisco Spirit Awards, which is a very, very prestigious awards. And getting double gold was phenomenal recognition. They're one of the most prestigious, like I mentioned. So they don't give medals out to everybody. And then when we sent it in, we didn't know if we were going to medal, or you were hopeful. But to get double gold, that means all 10 judges ranked as gold, which is phenomenal recognition to get for us. And what had happened is we had won bronze medals for our Single Malt in the past, and that was upsetting. Because we knew we were capable.
Other whiskeys had won gold.
Other whiskeys from Shelter Point have won gold at other award shows, and our Single Malt wasn't winning. So really, when Steven came on, he was one of the first things was we need to win gold with our core Single Malt. Right. So we took a look at our warehouse. We looked at the whiskeys that we had available, and we put something together that was more complex, more depth. Really spent the time crafting more of a traditional Scotch style single malt using what we had.
Yeah, I was going to say, for those in the chat that are actually drinking along with us, because some people do have this expression at home. Lots of characteristics that are similar to Scotch, in my opinion. That beautiful, waxy honey kind of note. I don't think that people nosing this blind would be able to tell that that's not Scotch, and I think that's a huge compliment.
Thank you. It's one of those whiskeys where part of my role is I do a lot of the tastings and the tours that we do here at the distillery, and it's really nice to be able to show people all of our whiskeys, but particularly the Single Malt, because it has got those characteristics of a high quality single malt whiskey, whether it's from Scotland or anywhere else. It really can stand on its own. And I think the really exciting thing for us was when it got recognized at the San Francisco Awards. It not only is great to receive the award, but almost it's that validation to say that our palates, our judgment as to what makes a good whiskey, we're going in the right direction with that. So for us, that recognition was really exciting, and to be able to share to people, particularly locally, that their local distillery, they're one that they've been kind of fans of for a while, is producing genuinely world-class spirit is really nice to be able to do.
Absolutely. Sorry, not to cut you off. I just wanted to show you there are some people drinking different expressions from Shelter Point.
Yeah.
Indian Guts drinking the Prohibition, which is also a very good one.
Yeah, the Prohibition was a phenomenally limited whiskey. So it's amazing to see folks still have it because it's been sold out for quite a while. So it's a collector's item now.
People are hanging on to it for sure.
So on this channel, and Jeremy wanted to be here from Super Social Club. We do the Whiskey Rant together as well, which is a podcast, and we're big on pour and play whiskeys. And what we mean by that is basically like something that you can pour at any time, sitting on the couch watching TV, socializing with friends, and not have to think too much about what you're doing. Like you don't have to add water, or you don't have to, serve it in a special way to enhance it. It's great on its own. Pour and play, just basically pour it, sip it, and enjoy it, right? And that's what this single malt is to a T, in my opinion. It's just that pour and play, watching the Leaf game, or in your case, the Canucks game, and or whatever, socializing with friends, having a nice formal tasting, whatever. It's very versatile, in my opinion.
Thank you. That's very kind of you to say, Rob. And yeah, I mean, tying into the San Francisco Awards, we made it into the finalists, the sweep rounds, they call them, for Canadian whiskey. So we were among the final two for the award of Best Whiskey in Canada at the award show, which was wonderful. We were invited down to San Francisco to attend the award ceremony because we were one of the finalists. So we didn't win, but we knew we were top two.
I was going to say, you can tell from the way that Jacob's talking that we stopped at that point.
Yeah.
But I mean, ultimately, to go on a journey where you're submitting whiskeys with the hope of winning a medal, to end that with ultimately a little disappointment that we didn't get all the way to the end. But the reality is, it was a real exciting journey for us. And as I said earlier, it's all about it. A lot of it is that validation, is that proof that we are creating whiskeys now that kind of stand up there. And one of the nice things about earning that double gold standard is that the classification from San Francisco says that this is among the finest products in the world. Absolutely. And so to be able to have that tagline hanging off two of our whiskeys it kind of allows you to just kind of really start to think, well, where can we go with this? What's the opportunity there? Yeah.
And the second whiskey Chris is talking about is Smoke Point, also won a double gold, which we're not going to be sipping tonight, but it won. There we go. It won Best Single Malt in Canada at the Canadian Whiskey Awards, and then it got a double gold at the San Francisco Spirit Awards in the same year, which was really cool and very validating for us as well. Just to know that we are doing two different styles and we're able to create a high quality whiskey both ways, and it just again validates our palates and our passion and what we're trying to do here at Shelter Point.
Just speaking to the Smoke Point, it's not on the table tonight, or the bar anyway, but I do have one over here, and I should have brought it out, but now there's a cord blocking me, and it's gonna be a nightmare to get it, but it's so consistent. Release after release, it's always fantastic. Let me, you know what, I think I can.
There we go. Let me, I got it there. There we go.
It's one of those ones where we when we released we'd been off the shelves for a while as we were working on the latest bottling, and when it came back, the response we had from our customers and the public in general was fantastic. It made the job of working in the store here really easy, because people would come in and say, where's the Smoke Point? There it is. Perfect. So when that came out, that was a fantastic day. Not one to get that recognition, but also to know that people were translating that into actually kind of putting it on their own shelves, which is really nice. Yeah.
So the Smoke Point is aged in a peated cask, right? That's how it's achieving its peat, or is it peated itself as well?
So it was originally using peated casks, but
I think ultimately we realized that relying on accessing those peated casks wasn't necessarily going to be sustainable, because that access point could be cut off at any time, and we have no control over that. So what we were doing in the background was looking at ways to recreate that. Okay. And what we ended up doing, it was a fantastic experiment that was done before my time at the distillery, but they really worked hard on experimenting with smoking the barrels, like literally kind of putting the smoke up into the barrel and giving the barrel the essence of the smoke, and then aging the whiskey in those barrels And the end result is, well, it's Smoke Point, which is as it is now, which is a whiskey that really takes on this smoky characteristics without a kind of heavy peated note, but it's got a really lovely smoke to it, which is just, it's going down really well here for sure.
Rob, you might have remembered the Smoke and Oak release.
Yes. Yeah, I do.
That kind of concept, but we were just able to optimize it into being sustainable for our Smoke Point moving forward, just because you never know when those casks are ever going to be available. Right. To rely on something halfway across the world is not the best business practice. So we were able to fine tune that in-house, which is amazing.
Right. Okay, well, the Smoke Point, as far as like the one I have over here, I'm assuming that's the newer style then, right? Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to go get it, but I don't want to lose this stream, and I don't want to knock over the tools and stuff. One, I know we were speaking to the Double Gold in San Francisco, but a bunch of my friends, they really like the Ripple Rock, and I've always been a big fan of the Ripple Rock from Edition 1. And then the most recent Ripple Rock, like a line of all three. I think there's been 3, right? 3 or 4?
There's been 3, but this one is now kind of a continued SKU, no longer designated by batches, because it was so popular that now we're able to produce it in larger quantities and make it one of our core expressions.
Right. So this one in particular, this is the newest one, and honestly, it blew me away how good it was, because I didn't think it was possible to be as good as the first one, and it is better in a blind tasting, according to a bunch of the people that I did it with. So that was really fun to do, and really impressed with the new Ripple Rock. Is it majority, or it starts off in new oak, or how does that work? How do you guys do that exactly?
So it's a combination with virgin oak and Kentucky bourbon barrels. So some full term maturation in virgin oak, some full term maturation in bourbon, and we're able to just sort of optimize the flavor profile using the casks available.
Now, we haven't mentioned it yet. Sorry, I'm losing you guys a little bit. I want to see if I can do something on my end to make sure that the quality of the stream gets a little bit better here. One second. I don't have any extra windows open here. Let me see if I remember. Are you guys able to hear me okay?
Yeah. If you need us to speak up, just let us know.
You know what it is? It's I don't know if it's just on my end. I can't tell. Maybe these guys can help us out and let us know. Are the Shelter Point gentlemen, are they a little scrambled to you guys watching, or is it just on my end? So right now the camera is freezing, and then a little drink more.
Situation.
Yeah. Okay. You know what? We'll roll through it. I think it should correct itself. It was fine. No, it is scrambling a little bit. All right. Hold on one sec. Let me see if you guys need to find the nearest. Okay. Hold on. Let me try one thing and see if it works. That work? I think that actually did work.
Perfect.
Yes, that worked actually.
You're an IT expert. You didn't put that in your profile.
Yeah, I wish. As a teacher, that would come in handy, but unfortunately, I'm the exact opposite. So I was already nosing the new Ripple Rock, and we missed a little bit of what you said when you were explaining the casks involved in the Ripple Rock.
In the Ripple Rock, yeah. So the Ripple Rock is a combination of virgin oak and Kentucky bourbon. The ratio is sort of a trade secret that we'll take to the grave. But we're using full term maturation, virgin oak and bourbon, and then it's all single malt, which is wonderful.
Yeah, awesome.
And for me, what I love about the Ripple Rock is that ultimately it's coming from exactly the same raw material as a single malt, but you've got a completely different flavor profile there, and it just shows you the influence that the barrels have and the choice of barrels that you use for the maturation of the whiskey. And it really brings out with Ripple Rock, it's a whiskey which is really accessible for people who are moving from kind of the traditional Canadian whiskey environment into experimenting with single malts. They're trying to find out what they like. Sometimes that journey can have its pitfalls. If you kind of meet a friend who loves their peated whiskey and you're not quite ready for that yet,
jump into the deep end.
You can find that a little bit kind of off-putting. Whereas I think Ripple Rock, it really, I sometimes refer to it as the gateway drug, because it kind of will allow people to understand a little bit about what a single malt has, the qualities that that style of whiskey can bring over the kind of traditional Canadian whiskies or a bourbon. And the Ripple Rock just brings people in, and it's a fantastic whiskey for that. It's really accessible.
Yeah, it was really designed kind of for the Canadian palate, is what we always like to say, because we were taking elements of a few different styles of whiskey and then putting them into the Ripple Rock, which had a wonderful base already, and then the feedback on the Ripple Rock's been amazing. So it's actually jumped up into our core this year and is one of our best-selling expressions that we have.
Yeah, whatever has changed, I'm not sure if much has changed, but if there's anything that's changed, yeah, this is, I don't know. For me, you get the sweetness from that new oak for sure. It's a little bit of that heightened sweetness, the sweetness. Just overall, well-balanced, beautiful whiskey. We didn't talk price at all. I know it varies depending on what province and stuff like that. What for the single malt, what's that going for in various parts of Canada right now?
Yeah, I mean, you can speak
for BC, then it's coming in at 78.25 is what it's retailing at kind of in stores around here. Obviously, kind of stores will have their variations within that, but that's the ballpark. And in terms of, I mean, and that's the same for the Ripple Rock and the single malt, both coming in at the same price. Going beyond BC, then I don't know whether you've got any details on what we're looking at there.
Alberta is going to be very similar. And then as we continue to grow nationally, we're going to try and hold tight to that price point, but it's probably going to go up a little bit province to province, because every liquor board's got different taxes and markups. So we're going to hopefully be after tax in most locations be under $90, but it's going to be right in that kind of 80, 85, 88 range is sort of the target as we keep expanding nationally.
Yeah. Quality wise, I mean, it's hitting above its weight class, in my opinion. Like you're definitely, if you gave this in a series of whiskeys that are priced around the, I mean, I don't want to put a number on it, but like much north of $100, these would definitely go toe to toe. So that's a great price in my opinion. I think that's well priced as far as what they're receiving for the quality per dollar, right? So
thank you, Scott. That's very kind. Yeah. You're too kind sometimes.
I honestly, like, whatever. Is there a little bit of a bias because of how like I love the whiskey? It maybe, but I don't know. I think I'm pretty honest, and I've always really like it's suited for my palate. So I guess there is a bias there because it's suited for my palate, but that's everybody.
Well, everybody's palate's different, and it's awesome that we're really thrilled that our whiskey is kind of hitting in the upper echelon of most palates now. And we saw even in one of your previous videos that you put us in your top 10, which was just amazing to see. So yeah, we just wanted to thank you. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, honestly, I think you're referring to the top 10 distilleries in the world right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and basically my kind of algorithm to like work that all out was future sustainability, where they're projected, what's happening now, and basically the quality in the glass at the moment as well. Like that's the key, right? And I don't know, I can't name another distillery that's literally doing everything from farm to glass like you guys. Like I think there's one other one that I can think of in Ireland, which is I think Waterford.
Waterford, yeah.
Right, and that's really, there's not too many in the world that are doing that, right? So you guys, I mean, there might be, but I don't really know too much about them. I know a lot of distilleries are just, they source their grain, which is fine, and they source their water supply, which is also fine. You guys are getting both on your land pretty much, which is
Yeah, we're very lucky with our location, and there's a couple other farm distilleries that, more on the smaller side, on the farm side, and more focused on whiskey, but they have some acreage. We actually just took off 200 tons of grain, of barley, about 3 weeks ago. So we're just in the process now of getting that all set up to go get malted. It'll be the first year where we're malting all of the grain that we take off, which is amazing. And, that is going to lead to more quality in our Montfort release of the whiskey, which, as you know, is a 100% single grain right now. But we're working towards transitioning that to start, be a 50-50 malt to unmalt, and then eventually be 100% malted barley, all from Shelter Point, which we're more than excited for. I mean, Chris actually put a post up on Instagram not that long ago of here's our 2020 or 2033.
The 2030 whiskey is being kind of harvested right now, and it's one of the things it makes my job here at the distillery very easy. Is if I'm showing people around, I can say, look out, there's the field of barley. And I also don't want to dislodge our stream here, Rob, but Jacob and I have got a fantastic view out of a set of double doors across a field full of barley stubble, which 3-4 weeks ago was sort of 3-4 foot high with ripening barley. And we're so lucky to have that as a resource, as you say. And it's really nice. It's a really great visual reminder for people to say, this is where it's come from. And we've got the aquifer beneath the fields. We've got the barley growing in the fields. And that is the major component of the whiskey. The only other thing there is yeast. And that's so nice to be able to talk about everything coming from where we are. And Montfort, particularly as a whiskey, we only ever make that with barley that's been grown on the farm. So it really is the one whiskey that's kind of bringing the essence of that terroir. It's a wine concept, but it applies so well to whiskey. We're really fortunate for us because it applies doubly because our barley's grown here and whiskey's aged here. So that sense of place really comes through. And now that we're going to be malting all of the barley that comes from there, we're going to be able to bring Montfort from being a really good quality single grain whiskey and evolve that into what will be a kind of a fantastic kind of estate grown single malt whiskey. And that as an idea, as a something we can put in a bottle is going to be really exciting. So to have been the exciting thing for me starting my journey here is that I can be watching that and see how that evolves and how that changes, and to kind of have been here for the harvest for that whiskey. I'm really excited to get to try that whiskey when it comes out the barrel, because that'll be the first one I've seen from the first start point. So that's going to be fun.
Well, he was lucky enough. He got to sit in the combine with Patrick and
that was
a full farm experience.
That was a 7-year-old boy's dream come true. I achieved it at the age of 45, but I don't care. It was good. So yeah, it's fun.
There's a company that's doing, I guess, pretty much what you just said, and they're experiencing a ridiculous amount of success right now, which is Springbank. Sorry, Springbank does the local barley series, right? So they do the local barley series, and that's kind of what you guys are doing with your Montfort series, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, if those are the shoes that you're following, then you guys are definitely headed in an incredible.
Well, that's good company to keep, and I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, definitely. There was a question here I wanted you guys to have a look at. Sorry, here we go. This is something that I get a lot, being where I'm from. So I don't know if either of you guys want to speak to this now, or. This
is surprisingly one of our most common questions that I feel like we get at Shelter Point is when are we going to be available to Ontario? So we are.
I apologize. That's partially probably because of me.
On the very basic level, it's a fantastic question to receive, and particularly to have it asked again. It's really exciting because we know that there are people out there who know of us
and there's a demand for it.
Yeah, so that's fantastic. And it is something that we are working on. We've just recently signed up with a Canada-wide agency who are looking to basically make sure that we're getting into the provincial liquor stores across the country. It's a step-by-step process, but Ontario, we're getting close.
We're getting close. So we've sent them multiple whiskeys, and a few of them have made it all the way through multiple stages. So we're kind of getting into the final stages of that. Our sales force is very optimistic that we are going to be able to get into Ontario soon. But they don't want to put a date on it necessarily because we don't want to get hopes up, but it looks very promising right now for Ontario. And we are spending a big focus on getting into Ontario because there's such a big demand. It's such a big market, and it's one of our big goals for 2023 is to be available in Ontario.
So I would say, being from the Greater Toronto area, and you would think I have a lot more Canadian subscribers, but I think my subscribership is around 25% Canadian, and like a big portion is American, and a big portion is coming from this place right here. So, any chance of increasing what is offered in California?
Only since, that's the next big one that Stephen, our general manager, is working on almost every day, is to start going down south. Because it's obviously it's a very big market as well, and we're at that point where we're fully sustainable with the amount of whiskey that we have available to sell.
I think the basis of all of this is the fact that our barrel inventory is at a very mature stage now. It's a really great platform for us to build on and to grow from. And so we're in a position where we can, if the demand is there, then we can satisfy it. And that's a really important thing for us to be able to do. The next thing is now to be able to get it actually into a position where people can buy it. And so as I say, we've got the sales agency for Canada. For the US, then we're looking into a potential direct-to-consumer market where people will be able to buy through the website and be able to get it delivered to them. The US market has its complications as well, but the direct-to-consumer model gives us an opportunity to kind of find a way to pick our way through that slightly more easily. Again, it's a process, but we're working hard on it. As Jacob says, Stephen's constantly kind of unblocking the various roadblocks that appear there, navigating our way through. So we're optimistic about that one too. And for us to be able to offer that as a direct-to-consumer model in the US would be phenomenal. Really excited about that.
As you know, the US is very tricky because every state has a different set of rules and regulations. So just sort of navigating that and then selecting the particular states that we're going to be able to get into, and then really push it hard once we get there. Yeah. As for more than the single malt, I mean, we're definitely going to start with the single malt and trying to get that more widely available. And then after we succeed with that, we'll start introducing other SKUs into the market.
It's funny because I'm pretty sure YouTube analytics are interesting because I know that over 50% of my viewership is from the US, but I believe it's the exact same amount of Californians as Canadians watch my channel. So there's a lot of single malt drinkers in California. So
absolutely. I mean, there are a few people in California.
Yeah, you put it in the chat. It's the same population as Canada in California. So
yes, it's
a
fun fact.
And as Peter White says, California also has 10 times the whiskey selection.
Well, Canada can be tricky to navigate, for other whiskeys coming into the market, as you've seen, just because every province is different and different whiskeys make it into different markets.
This is an interesting question. Maybe so where are you guys sourcing is that something that you're allowed to speak to, or where are you sourcing your barrels at the moment?
Barrels? Yeah, so a lot of our barrels are coming from Kentucky. They're ex-bourbon barrels from a variety of different distilleries. Sort of what's available when. Our virgin oak all comes from Kentucky as well. So it's American oak, typically with a number 4 char, but we have experimented with other char levels as well. And then we get, I have some barrels coming in from Spain right now. So I got some real fresh sherry casks, nice. Oloroso. They have been on order for multiple months, and they're kind of sitting at the border right now. So I'm very antsy to get those in as quickly as possible so that I can get some spirit into them awesome. As soon as we can. But yeah, if we had our own cooperage, that'd be cool.
I was going to say, to answer that direct question, then that'd be a dream come true in many ways to give us the opportunity to play even more. I mean, I think that, as I said at the very beginning, a lot of the hard work was done by the team early on to bring in interesting barrels and source those ones that can allow you to add different elements to the whiskey. And with a cooperage, you can start to reach our barrels, you can start to change things, you can kind of do all sorts of different things. And yes, it's a question that we're asked quite often, how do we do it? And at the moment, it's a dream, but who knows?
Nothing's impossible.
Yeah.
It's something that we've talked about and thrown around in the past. It's just a matter of kind of when and how, and where does that fit in with our kind of production model.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
The third whiskey we have here, as I'm enjoying and these other two, we should speak to the Evans Family Reserve. What's the story behind this? Because to be honest with you, I'm not even fully familiar with the story behind the Evans Family Reserve. I've heard incredible.
The name has its roots in Patrick is Patrick Evans. So he is the kind of the guru, the brainchild of the distillery, the person who kind of essentially kind of had the vision and created it. And so we felt it was right and proper to kind of recognize his influence. And so what we're doing with the Evans Family Reserve is we're seeing it as more of a flexible product. So what you have there and what we've got here is the wine finish. So we've taken casks from 3 BC wineries. One held a Foch, one held a Syrah, one held a Pinot. Our whiskey was finished in those and then recombined into what has become the Evans Family Reserve. And this is the wine finish. There was historically, then there was the double barrel name was out there. This is an evolution of that, taking that kind of double barrel finish. What I love about this particular one is the fruity sweetness that you get with it. There's a hint in the bottle. You can see the kind of the colors come through from those wine barrels, but also that fruity sweetness really comes across in the whiskey, which is really exciting. And you were talking earlier on about you like kind of easy whiskeys that you don't have to think about too much.
Right.
The thing which I love about the Evans family is it really benefits from just a time to breathe in the glass.
Yeah.
So
it really opens up.
It does. I found this out completely by accident. I had a sample put on my desk, had a little sip, had to take a phone call, looking longingly at a whiskey just sat there, which I'd barely tried, and then came back to it after 5 minutes, and it was like a different whiskey because it really just opened up in this glass, which is phenomenal.
I would say the same thing. We've been speaking this whole time, and it's been sitting poured off to the side, and definitely very fruity.
Yeah.
Are you still using? Sorry, I didn't catch all 3. You said there was 3 different wine casks used for this, right?
Yeah, 3 different BC wine casks.
I heard Pinot. Sorry, I missed the other.
A Foch, a Pinot, and a Syrah.
Okay, so you're not using those with the double oak or the double cask series, double barrel. It was like a blackberry.
So we did 5 different expressions of double barrel, and 2 of them we were able to use some blackberry port casks.
Okay.
But we've always sort of bounced between what wine barrels were available at each year. So we were lucky enough to source these 3 BC wine barrels from the Okanagan and able to utilize this. And what's really exciting about double barrel or about Evans is the flexibility. So we're going to be able to do different styles of finishings under this banner moving forward. So we already sort of have the next one planned out. It's going to be a Caribbean rum finish, which is very exciting for us. Just we've never dabbled too much with rum barrels, but we were able to acquire some this year, and it's been a phenomenal time to experiment for myself. Just being able to sample the different variations of rum casks that we were able to acquire, and then the effect the whiskeys had on them, because we put this kind of the same single malt in each of the barrels, and then seeing the different results has been just a really fun process for myself.
Yeah. And what was been really nice is we've got the rum from different places. So we've got a couple of barrels of rum from Barbados.
Yeah.
So that's a molasses-based rum, but we've also got barrels from Martinique, which is a sugarcane-based rum.
Yeah.
And so even within, a learning curve on rum is definitely what I've been on for the last little while, just learning about it and understanding it. And so just to have those different barrels with different flavor influences coming through, really excited about the rum finish that's going to be coming. And then later down the line, sherry.
Sherry's the 3rd one. So we've sort of scheduled it out, and we're going to be releasing a couple of them per year under the Evans banner.
Very cool. I'm excited to see how your spirit interacts with sherry, because that hasn't been done yet, right?
We do have some sherry casks, so we do know, roughly how it's going to interact, because sherry is one of the components that goes into our single malt Solera.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
But I mean, well, and the really nice thing about the single malt is it's combining all of those.
Yeah.
So there's the classic, there's your kind of ex-Kentucky bourbon barrels.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of sherry in there. There's some pork pipe in there. There's a lot of different influences, and that combines within the single malt to create that really long-lasting
that depth and that complexity. Virgin oak wine. Some of the hand smoked barrels are in there, and it's a kind of 10-barrel recipe, and that was really fun to create. And then we have which we didn't mention when we were on the single malt earlier, we actually have a Solera system now. So we have a big Solera tank, so we're able to vat multiple batches together, and then we bottle some of it, and then we top it back up. And that allows us to keep a really consistent product throughout the entire year, which has been a wonderful change for us. Just being able to guarantee the consistency, and then allowing that whiskey more time to marry inside of the vessel has been huge as well. Marrying time is one of the most important aspects of creating whiskey.
You know what I find with the Solera system is that the whiskeys that come out of it don't need as much time to breathe once poured. Like you just kind of pour and drink, as opposed to having it sit 15, 20 minutes in the glass and then go to drink it. You know what I mean? I feel like because it's in that constant, like I don't know, is it an open cask? Is that how it works?
It's a stainless steel tank, but we're able to mix it, and then as we pull from it, we top it back up right away so that it's always above 3/4 full, and it just allows it more time to marry. And what it is just a more complete whiskey. Something that can take place in the bottle, but it's much more effective to do with larger quantities, and it's just creating a more high quality spirit on the back end, which has been amazing for us.
There are a couple questions that have been coming through.
Yep.
Richard has one about the collective.
The collective. It's a great question. It's not in the schedule right now, not in the production plan. So the collective was a really fun whiskey experiment that we did here a couple of years ago, where different members of the staff who aren't usually involved in the blending process were able to select barrels and be a part of the blend. It is something that we have discussed for next year, but wasn't something that fit into the production plan for 2022.
But it's definitely one that's going to be a source of kind of one, you've got people involved who aren't going to be bringing a kind of the same flavors. So there's going to be different palettes coming into it, different flavor profiles, and also an opportunity to use some of the different barrels again. I mean, there's lots of different barrels in the warehouse. It's a fun adventure to go through, walking through and seeing what's there. And there's definitely stuff there which doesn't necessarily form part of the single malt or form part of the Evans family recipes, but on their own or as part of a blend of different barrels could really come out with something that is going to be interesting. So as Jacob said, there's no plan yet, but it's not been shelved at all. It's definitely in the back of our minds, and it's going to be a really fun project to bring that out again.
Are you guys still sourcing rye from other distilleries, or is that?
No, I mean, we haven't sourced rye from other distilleries since 2011.
Oh, wow.
So some of that original holdover was just what was left from the original purchase. We have, however, grown and distilled and malted our own rye back in 2020. Was when it was distilled. So we have done other rye since that original, because that original rye obviously has done well for us in its small various releases. But we have 100% malted rye, all of which was grown at Shelter Point in our warehouse, which is wonderful.
That's really cool.
So that's the exciting thing, which I like I was mentioning, where that's going to end up, how we're going to use that, still to be decided. But those are sat in the armory, basically waiting to be used if we ever kind of find a slot for it. So
I got a 2-part question, and one of the people watching actually has a similar, I guess, question. How many barrels would you guys say are in the warehouse right now, roughly? Are you allowed to disclose that, or?
I think so.
We'll find out. We'll give you a number, and then we'll
find out what happens. Just north of 3,000 barrels are in our warehouse.
Okay, so a lot. So you guys,
Couple, yeah.
And what's your production like roughly annually? Like, is it, how much does it increase by a year?
This year has been amazing for us. So it's been our highest producing year by cask so far. We've been double shifting. So we have our head distiller, James, who's been here since day one as well. Actually been here longer than me. He had designed the building, and he's been the head distiller right since day one. And then we have Jared, who's younger, who actually worked on the farm for a couple of years, and we were able to put him through some schooling and get him to be a part of the distilling team this year. And we've been double shifting since January. So we put roughly 6 barrels away every single day.
Wow, that's big production. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's exciting because, I mean, as far as Canadian, I don't know what, like, I can't speak to like Scottish output and stuff like that, but it sounds like you guys can't be considered a micro distillery anymore. I mean, not that you ever, I don't know if you ever really considered yourself one, but now like you guys are ready to compete with some of the bigger names out there, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. We never really considered ourselves a micro distillery necessarily. We've always, I mean, the size of our stills are comparable to Springbank, which you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
It's always been a matter of kind of ability to produce throughout the entire year. Distilling is a very fickle game economically, and not the best business plan in the world when you have to wait 5 years to move your product to start making money. So right now every year we've sort of amped it up. We distilled 10% of the year the first couple of years, 25, 30, and now we're right at 100%. Our lights went off, and I don't know how to make them come back on
without walking through the building.
without looking weird.
It has actually changed the quality of the camera, so I think we're good either way.
Okay, perfect. Good.
Yeah. We have a couple questions that I actually, there's a fly here, it's driving me crazy.
18
Yeah. So what would you say my question was going to be, what would you say some of the oldest product in the warehouse is at the moment?
We still have some barrels from 2011 in the warehouse. We've definitely been sparingly using them.
I found barrel number 3 the other day.
Wow.
Which is kind of cool. So it's July 4th.
July 4th, 2011.
So day one of distilling. So that's as old as our barrels can get. And so I think kind of to the question, when's the 18-year-old coming, then probably another 6-7 years down the line is.
Let me do the math for that one. 2029.
Yeah. So a little bit away yet. But yeah, we started in 2011. July 4th was that very first day. And there are barrels out there which the temptation is to use them, but then there's an equal temptation to keep them. So it's going to be finding that balance for sure. And that's the challenge with any whiskey, any barrel is now the right time.
Yeah.
And for those ones, those really early ones, then they carry that extra weight because that's when you kind of have those sort of kind of real milestone years coming up.
And it's difficult because some of them, you know what they taste like and you know they're phenomenal, but you know you need to save it for further expressions down the road. So it is a tricky game figuring out what barrels you want to use now and which barrels you need to save for other products down the line.
Yeah, for sure. I can see how that would be tricky. I think you guys are at the advantage that most distilleries in Canada can't use, is that you have a lot of production and you have a lot of stock. So it's like, as much as you try that older barrel and it's phenomenal, there's some less old barrels that are just as good.
Exactly. I mean, we love the age statements and it's a big part of it, but we found that we've been able to create high quality whiskeys that aren't requiring 10 years of maturation.
Yeah. So actually that kind of brings up a question. I want to get to a question that's here. Maybe it'll inspire some people to come out to you guys a little bit more. Are there distillery exclusives that are only sold at Shelter Point right now?
I mean, currently Evans family is only available at Shelter Point. It's not available in the market anywhere yet. That might change in the future, but as it stands right now, it's only available at Shelter Point.
Yeah, so either in store or through our online store, then you can access Evan's Family. And ultimately, what I would like to see, as particularly with things like Evan's, where we're going to be cycling through different finishes, then the distillery is going to be that place to source the ones where maybe the retail stores aren't carrying them anymore, but the distillery is going to be hanging on. So it's going to be able to access those. And ultimately, our online store will always have everything we sell, more so than anywhere else. And so that's going to be the place to look first. And I think kind of going forward, then again, we're just talking about the joy of finding those barrels and those really interesting things. So yeah, that would be the kind of that. If anywhere, they'll be sold here. Is the short answer.
Have you had a chance to try the collaboration that Whiskey in the Six did with Shelter Point? That was, Jake, how long ago was that? That was almost 2 years ago.
Which one?
The
with you.
Yes, with me.
Oh, yeah. So we did a cask pick with one of our single cask releases that was a distillery exclusive with Rob. Rob actually picked the cask. That's probably what your text message meant earlier.
Yeah. So, well, I was inquiring about future endeavors, but
yeah. So I might have a bottle left upstairs. So Rob, I gave Rob some samples, and he hand selected an amazing cask, and I think that release sold out within like an hour of being put out in the market.
Most of your special releases sell out almost.
Those single cask releases didn't do very well, but I mean, with Rob's amazing support, we were able to move that almost immediately. Oh, yeah,
I don't doubt it. So it says a lot, Rob, that I didn't even know about it. So okay. It was clearly there might be one. Jacob's got a shelf by his desk where he has, I think, almost every bottle that has been produced.
Essentially every bottle that's ever been released. I have kept a stash beside my desk that I don't let nobody touch.
Yeah, so we can look at that, but I don't think it'll let me open it, even if I can look at it. So
I've saved a couple. So if when the time comes that you're at a Toronto whiskey festival, then you'll be behind this bar speaking to this crowd again, and then you can try it.
Fantastic, awesome.
Yeah, it'll be entertaining to try whiskeys I can't try here at your place, Rob. For sure.
Yeah, we're not going to let him try, but I'm glad you're willing to share.
So I guess what's to be expected from Shelter Point in the near future? What can we tell these guys? Are there any sneak peeks, anything that you guys want to share in the next little while that they can come to expect?
I mean, they can expect an issue that we've had in the past that we've definitely corrected this year is availability of the core SKUs. We've had moments in the past where we've sold out of some of our core expressions. We've done everything in our power to prevent that from happening in the future. Just being more on top of our releases, having more stock to pull from. So our core whiskeys will for always be available at any point in time, which has been amazing. Just seeing it at the worst end, multiple years ago when we had trouble keeping up with the demand, we're now able to keep up all of the time, which has been huge for us.
Yeah, and to that point, available in a wider range of places. So we talked about Ontario and the other provinces. So that's a real goal for us as well, is to have a consistent product line that people can rely on and be confident that they'll be able to find it and source it. So that is the foundation on which I think our next kind of couple of years are going to be based on. Yeah. There are, obviously, we talked a little bit about where the Evans family's range is going to go with the rum finish and then the sherry finish, and who knows where. Really, where that goes depends on what we can find in terms of barrels. So that's an exciting path to go down. And ultimately, what's also coming at some point soon is going to be the 10-year-old. The next batch of the 10-year-old is going to be. It's still in the cask at the moment and still being finalized, but that is to come as well. And ideally, fingers crossed by the end of the year. But
the goal is the end of the year, but it might not. We're really taking our time and making sure that we put out the best quality tenure that we can. And we're really excited. That's been a really fun project to work on. And we do kind of weekly samples as we have it in different oak from the original oak, just to add some different complexity and depth to the cask, because it's going to be a very small batch when it is released. And then in the 10-year, we'll kind of stay smaller batches until we get to the point when it's going to be a very large batch and then available nationally, like some of our other SKUs.
Yeah, because last year was kind of similar, right? It was a small batch of the cask strength 10, the prohibition 10, and then the 46%.
Yeah, all three very, very small batches. This year, we're definitely going to be just doing one iteration and focusing on that one being as high quality as possible, and we'll be at 46% as well.
Yeah, I mean, they work so well at 46% that it's hard to move away from, and then more people get to try it as well. So that's
more accessibility. Yeah. I mean, cask strength does sometimes has scared people off from trying our whiskeys. We do have a cask strength single malt available now as part of our core, and that's pulled right from the Solera. No water added. It's what the Solera is sitting at, and that's been surprisingly successful.
It's a whiskey which, I mean, when I, again, the fun part of my job is doing those tastings, and people will come as complete whiskey novices as well as enthusiasts. And what's amazing to me is how broad the acceptance and enjoyment of the cask strength is across that whole range of people. People who are on their third ever sip of whiskey will try the cask strength and see how that depth and complexity can really play out. They'll really appreciate the kind of the experience of adding a few drops of water, feeling how the aroma and the taste change, a couple more drops of water, and just see how the product evolves with that. It's as cask strengths go, it's surprisingly accessible to, as I say, even the kind of the relative newcomer to whiskey.
Yeah, and I think that speaks to our Solera and what we've been able to create in there, because we've seen cask strengths in the past be, harder to be accessible for novice drinkers, like Chris mentioned, but our cask strength this year has just been so well received that we have a hard time keeping up with the demand in a way, just because we didn't project it to be as popular as it was.
Yeah, I think that's the new climate. It seems like the new appetite is heavier strength whiskeys, but I mean, 46 is a great ABV. I love it, and I think as long as you're going there, most people are going to be happy, especially the people on channels like this. There's a couple questions for you guys.
Yep.
And then I know it's getting close to dinner for you guys, so we will let you go soon. But sorry, we have this is just a comment saying that he's looking forward to a Shelter Point tasting at his whiskey club. And then Peter White was asking, I think you spoke to this a little bit earlier, but Peter White's a rye fan, so he wants to know, I guess, if there's any coming out soon.
Yeah, I did speak on it earlier. We do have some rye in casks in our warehouse. There's no timeline on releases. We don't know where it's going to go. It's 100% malted. Like I said, all grown here on Shelter Point. And it's a really fun experiment that we're sort of taking, day by day, because we don't know where it's going to go. It's not whiskey yet. It's only like two and a half years old, I believe. So still has some time in the barrel before it gets to a bottle, but it's a very exciting project for the future.
Awesome. All right. Well, I won't keep you too much longer. I will ask you to stay on when we do sign off and say bye to these guys, just so that we can have our formal buys offline. But anything last thing that came to mind, or anything that you guys want to share with these guys, maybe where they can find your product currently and moving forward? Anything else you want to share? Go ahead. The floor is yours, guys.
Well, I mean, we are in referring back to kind of where we're going to be available. Then I'd say the kind of the big push to get out into other provinces. I'm going to be in Calgary, not next week, but the week after, for a few days, meeting with various buyers, and also we're doing a tasting at the Kensington Wine Market there. So anyone who's in that area, if you'd like to come along, then it'd be great to kind of see you there and meet you there. And I think we're going to Manitoba Whiskey Festival. That's going to be happening. And so really pushing and getting out there to get across the country and be able to kind of push to have our product available across Canada is, for me, that's going to be the exciting part about the next 12 months, is really rolling it out there.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then I guess the website would be where they could get, if you're in Canada.
Yeah. Anyone in Canada. So anyone in Canada can buy from the website then?
It's the at the moment. Then it's a little bit tricky because the provincial regulations make it hard to ship out with Canada. That's why we're really pushing to get the rollout across the different liquor stores within BC. Absolutely, I know that's not going to be a core part of your viewership, Rob, but for those of you who are, then that's where you can find us. And ultimately, if you can't find us, then go to your local liquor store and ask for us. Build that demand, because that's going to help as well if people know.
It gives us that leverage that we need to break into these markets. The more people that ask for it, the better opportunity we have of getting into that market and succeeding.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much for joining tonight. Really appreciate it. These whiskeys are phenomenal. For you guys watching, you definitely need to go get them. It was tough because I love pour and play whiskeys. It was tough not going back to the two that I had. I was holding out for when we could meet.
Yeah.
As you can see, we dipped into some of them obviously beforehand. So, but honestly, just always a great experience with any Shelter Point whiskey I have, and you guys know how much I love you guys. You guys are awesome. So.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Rob. It's been a real pleasure. It's been great to get some questions coming in from the people watching too. And yeah, it's just, again, been a phenomenal opportunity for us to be here. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Rob, very much. We truly appreciate you having us on, and we appreciate all the support that you've given us over the years.
Yeah, my pleasure, honestly, guys. Everybody else, hope you had a good night, and be sure to buy some Shelter Point. Hopefully, I think there's some still available in Alberta that you can get shipped to your door at multiple stores. So, and if not, then hopefully you can find a friend in Vancouver or BC and have them ship it over to you.
Perfect.
All right, guys. I'll say goodnight to these guys, and you guys just hang out on the line for 1 sec.
Yep.
Guys, cheers.